On the field. Off the field. Sports talk. Entertainment and more. This is Sauce on the Side.
Well, hello there, Dippers, and welcome back to episode 77 of the Sauce on the Side podcast. As always, Dippers, I'm your host, Drake, joined by the man, the producer, Mr. Leighton Pip Shavington.
Out of all the upsets they've had this weekend, which there were many, the biggest one is Bohemian Rhapsody beating A Star Is Born for a drama in the Golden Globe. Most of you don't understand how big that is, but that is a humongous upset.
Yeah, I don't know how big that is.
You don't?
I haven't watched either of those movies, as a matter of fact. I just know that one's about Queen and the other one's about Lady Gaga.
You should watch them both. Very good.
Alright, yeah. I'll probably watch both of them before my end of time. I do like Bradley Cooper. Lady Gaga's an interesting person, to say the least.
To say the least, yeah.
Everybody loves Queen, so I'll run across them at some point. But, Dippers, as always, be sure to follow on Spotify, iTunes, download, subscribe, give us that 5-star review, and be sure to check us out at thefsgn.com, where you can find our podcast and other podcasts as well. This week, we are going to break down the wild card weekend that we had in this NFL season. Unfortunately, guys, my Bears have lost. We will talk a little bit about bowl season, put a recap and a bow on the college football season. We will talk about Clemson, Alabama recap, a little recap of the bowls. We'll do a little NCAA basketball talk. A lot of things are actually starting to heat up for college basketball. Teams are starting to actually play within their conference, and things are starting to get a little interesting as we're getting some good matchups. And shittiest take of the week is back. So, latency. I talked about it. NFL playoffs. We'll start with the Saturday afternoon game, and how fitting that it was Jason Witten and the boys for the Saturday afternoon game.
Yeah. And that's a game, basically, if you watch it, it's a tale of two halves in a way. The Texans didn't come to play whatsoever throughout the game, basically. But particularly in the first quarter, Andrew Luck just had way with them. If they scored 21 points, I think, in the first 20 minutes of the game, then they got shut out. They could have done the whole game, a whole different ball game, obviously. But they couldn't do it. And honestly, if you're a Texans fan, I know you won the division, I know you got to the playoffs. You got a question you want to keep Bill O'Brien around.
Absolutely.
Because the Texans are one of the weird teams to me. They have two windows to win a championship. They're the windows open right now that's about to shut with J.J. Watt and Marcelo Darius, because they're getting older, they have injury history. That's going to shut. So then,
this was their year.
So then they're going to have 2 or 3 years of mediocrity, but then they'll have another window up to where if they draft well and sign good free agents, they could have another really solid team 2 or 3 years after Watt's basically done. They just got to draft right. But right now the window's closing. You got to look at Bill O'Brien and say, okay, we got Deshaun Watson, we got Donald Hopkins, why are we scoring 7 points?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that this should kind of be one of those rare scenarios where a coach makes the playoffs and does not have his job, especially with all the offensive gurus that we have, that are looking for head coach jobs. I mean, there are plenty of guys that could take Deshaun Watson and get a lot more out of him than what we've seen. Which the real bizarre thing, guys, you might not have noticed, but there were 3 different teams that went scoreless in a whole half of football this weekend, and 2 of them were in this game. The Colts got shut out in the second half, the Ravens got shut out in the first, or the Texans got shut out in the first, and then you look at the Ravens game, they got shut out in the first half as well. But the story of this game was the Colts offensive line. I mean, did you see the video of
They didn't get sacked once.
Yeah, I think they gave up 1 sack. Maybe 1 sack.
I'll fact check it.
Fact check that. But all you have to do is find the video of Quentin Nelson pancaking Jadeveon Clowney. Because if you want to talk about a clown of the game, that was it. And it was your second, third best defensive player right there, getting absolutely demolished by a rookie. And you look at what this offensive line was able to do. The Colts had 200 rush yards. Like, if you told me that the Colts would win this game by an offensive explosion, I would never guess that it would be because of 200 yards on the ground, which they have Nobody has gotten 125 rush yards on the Texans all season. They explode for 200. Marlon Mack, 6.2 yards per carry. He was an absolute man. And actually, I have it in my notes. I thought it was 1 because I was giving him the benefit of the doubt. 0 sacks on Andrew Luck.
Yes.
That is unbelievable.
I just got the number is 0 sacks.
How do you have Jadeveon Clowney, J.J. Watt, and Mercedes... Marcel, who? What's the name?
Merciless.
Whitney Merciless.
Merciless.
Okay, I knew he played at Illinois. I couldn't think of who it was. Whitney Merciless. How do you get 0 sacks on Andrew Luck? Because that offensive line is that good. And I understand, maybe they struggled to move the ball a little bit, but like 8 designed running plays to your running backs. 8. They had 8 handoffs to the running back in that game. I think Bill O'Brien's seat is hot as it's ever been. You pass the ball 49 times. They knew what you were doing every single play. You have to keep things balanced, even if you do fall behind early. Absolutely abysmal performance by the Texans. But that Colts team is absolutely for real.
It's a good team.
Very good team.
Probably the last... I heard a stat earlier. Over the last 11 weeks, they have been basically the best team in football.
Absolutely.
They're the best offense, best defense. Like, they're top in every category.
Yeah, they are unbelievable. And we're going to talk about that because they do play the Chiefs. And I was going to actually talk about their last 11 games leading into this game. We do have the Colts and Chiefs this Saturday. It will be the afternoon game. Leighton, what are the keys to the game, and who do you think is going to win?
So the keys to the game, we're on the Colts side. We've already talked about them. They just have to contain this offense. This offense is going to score points. They score points against the Ravens. They just have to keep it minimal. Like, I'm talking mid to low 20s. Because if they score middle 20s, I am very confident in Andrew Luck being able to score more than 24 points at Arrowhead on this defense. That's the key to the game for the Colts. The Chiefs, the defense has to come up big. We talked about Texans getting no sacks. Not really that many rushes on Andrew Luck. They have to get to Andrew Luck. They have to make him uncomfortable. And I'm not sure they'll be able to do that. I know Jones is a great pass rusher. Came out of nowhere this season. Had a really good year. But that secondary is not good enough to stop the Colts' weapons. It's as pitiful as the Colts' weapons are. The pass rush has to get to Andrew Luck.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you look at Chris Jones, who you talked about. Chris Jones, D Ford, both those guys had 15 and 13 sacks respectively. Like, they can get to the quarterback, but do you trust that defense rushing the passer more than J.J. Watt, Clowney, and Merciless?
No.
Absolutely not. So I think that the pass rush is going to be negated by that Colts offensive line, and Frank Wright's done a really good job at putting them in good positions, keeping the defense on their toes, and keeping it balanced with a good run attack. That way teams aren't just basically pinning their ears back and coming after Luck, which, we've seen the Chiefs end up in shootouts before, but I think that the game plan is going to be to slow the game down. They're going to hand the ball off to Marlon Mack. He's been absolutely phenomenal down the stretch. And you look at this Colts team, they're as hot as anybody, and they were my Super Bowl pick. Guys, in the last 11 games, the Colts are 10-1, and they're outscoring opponents 27-15.
Yeah, but the defense is good.
The defense is legit. If you're holding teams to 15 points and they had a shutout against the Cowboys, like, this defense is for real. And if you look at the Chiefs, they played their best football early on in the season. I know that they're still putting up points, but they're 7-4 in their last 4 games. And if you look at playoff teams, so higher caliber opponents, over these last 11 games, I'm going to include the Titans just because if it wasn't for the Colts beating them in Week 17, they would be a playoff team. Okay, so I'm going to include the Titans in this scenario. The Colts are 5-0 against playoff teams in that stretch. The Chiefs are 1-4, and their only win was an overtime win against the Ravens.
Okay.
That's kind of scary. That's kind of scary to me.
Yeah, no. On the way home, I actually heard a stat. I know against the spread isn't winning the game, but in the last 7 weeks, so many times they beat the spread.
Everyone?
Once.
Who?
The Chiefs.
Oh, the
have
Chiefs.
covered the spread one time. The Colts probably every time. The Chiefs have covered it one time.
The Colts there.
Yeah, so the Chiefs have outperformed expectations one time in 7 weeks.
That's unbelievable.
It is.
That's unbelievable.
They're playing bad football. It's an Andy football team.
Yeah.
This is any football team.
This is how it goes with Andy Reid. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to ask you the questions, okay? And then I want you to tell me who your winner is going to be.
Okay.
Who has the better defense?
Colts.
Who has the better offensive line?
Colts.
Who has the better running game?
Colts.
Who has the better quarterback? Who do you trust more in this scenario?
Andrew Luck.
Who has better pass catchers?
Pat Mahomes.
Who's going to win this game?
The Chiefs.
How? If everything except for pass catchers points to the Colts, why do we think that the Chiefs will win?
Because the Chiefs, like I said, over the past 7 weeks, they killed her one time. I would say one time. You could say they look very pedestrian.
And that was probably against the Raiders.
If you were in a coma up until week 11 of the season and started watching football, you would think, how are the Chiefs' best team in football? They got a week off. I expect them to come back rested and ready to go. I still think this team is the second third team in football. They're at home. I know this is the game Andy Reid always loses, but I think he's going to win this one.
I don't see how. I mean, every single thing points to the Colts winning this game. And I'm just going to go with just who's better. Who's better at this? Who's better at that? And I don't think that Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and, whoever's going to be the third pass catcher out of that group is that much better than T.Y. Hilton, Eric Ebron, and then Dontrell Inman at this point, especially whenever you have Andrew Luck under center who's played in these games before. And if you look at recent history, players who are playing in their first playoff game, Lamar Jackson, he lost. Mitchell Trubisky, he lost. Dak Prescott lost his first playoff game. And I believe Jared Goff, did he win last year? I think he lost.
He did. No, it looked terrible. He had a horrible game.
So, I mean, if you look at just recent history, I don't think that you can wipe the slate clean here. And we're looking at 10 straight games in the playoffs that the underdog has covered. I have to go with the Colts here. I really do. I think that the Colts are the better football team at this point of the season. So I'm going that the Colts are going to win this game.
I think that point to the Colts. I'm going to go with the Chiefs. They're going to win this game.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and go to the Saturday night game. Cowboys were able to beat the Seahawks, hold off a late rally. Cowboys 24, Seahawks 22. Leighton, what were your thoughts on this game?
This is a game I really thought the Seahawks were going to win.
Absolutely.
Going the weekend, of all the games other than the Bears game, I was most confident in the Seahawks pulling this one off. And the Cowboys, they just outplayed them. Yeah. They're the better team. And if you go through the players list, the top 10 guys, the Cowboys probably have 7 or 8 of the 10. Seahawks have Wilson, Wagner, and maybe Baldwin on a good day. The Cowboys are a better team, and they played like it and just killed Jason Garrett.
But let's say that we went ahead and, instead of Andrew Luck throwing 27 times in a playoff game, Russell Wilson throws 27 times in that playoff game. What if Russell Wilson would have thrown that ball 35, 38 times?
They might have won the game.
They might have won the game.
Chris Carson got shut down.
When the other coach is throwing Dak Prescott more than Russell Wilson, either the play calling for the Seahawks is terrible, or Dak Prescott's coach isn't very smart. Oddly enough, I think both were true this weekend. I mean, and if you look at it, I don't know why Rashad Penny, his running plays have just basically been trick plays for this offense, but he was the most efficient runner, most efficient pass catcher out of the backfield during the regular season, and you go ahead and you run Chris Carson and Mike Davis to death for 30 yards on 17 carries. That makes absolutely no sense to me. The only guy who was able to find any kind of wiggle room was Rashad Penny, and you turn around and you hand the ball off to Mike Davis more times than him. That makes absolutely no sense for me for this team. And you look at Russell Wilson and his performance. Every time he threw the ball 15 yards down the field, it was completed. And Russell Wilson was averaging 8.6 yards per attempt. But whenever you're only throwing the ball 27 times, you cannot win football games like that. Whenever your two-headed monster, Mike Davis, Chris Carson, is running the ball at like a 2-yard per carry clip, you're not going to win games. You're not going to win games in that scenario. The whole time I was watching this game, I'm sitting there thinking okay, when are we going to start unleashing Russell Wilson? When are we going to start unleashing Russell Wilson? I even have, in the first quarter, I looked at Diesel and I said, don't worry about this, because he was on the Seahawks side. He had bet on the Seahawks, and I said, once Tyler Lockett gets his first catch, this team will be just fine. Well, they threw it to him, and then they didn't throw it to him for like another quarter and a half.
Yeah, and the season's over. We're not going to sit here forever and question the Seahawks' offensive strategy, but I thought Tyler Lockett should be more on the offense than he is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've said it since he got drafted. He is the poor man version of Antonio Brown, and you can still be a great wide receiver being a mediocre Antonio Brown.
Yeah, you can be. You can be a big receiver.
Absolutely. So we'll go ahead and talk about the game that will be played on Saturday. It's the Cowboys at the Rams. What are the keys to the game, and who do you have as a winner?
Well, first of all, I'll start by saying I'm picking the Cowboys to win this game.
You are?
I am.
Wow.
And I want to look back at Jared Goff's season last year. Passing-wise, regular season, very similar numbers. This was obviously better. He was improved. But last year was very close to regular season last year. In the playoffs, at home, against Atlanta, he was 24 for 45, 259 yards, and one touchdown, no picks. He's abysmal. They couldn't do anything on offense last season. This year is better. But since they lost Cooper Kupp, they have looked at an entirely different team. Like the Chiefs, since weather's changed, weather in LA never really changes. But since, the counter turned over to lost Cooper Kupp, they're not like the same team. And the Cowboys look like one of the better teams in football, honestly. If you watch them play, you'd think this team is always a playoff team. Why is it ever in question? And I'm going to go with the Cowboys.
Wow.
I do not want them to win. I am cheering for the Rams, but I think the Cowboys will take this game home. Looking on paper, the Rams have better offense. I don't have a better defense. And if the Cowboys can run the football and control the clock, which they want to do, they win the football game.
Yeah, see, last week, I'll hit on it again. Good play calling beats the Cowboys last week, and Sean McVay is not going to have bad play calling.
No.
Sean McVay is going to be more than ready for this defense. He's going to get their guys in space, be able to, actually put up points. The only saving grace that I see the Cowboys having is that the Rams allow 5.1 yards per carry.
Do you think Donald and Sue will line up in the cut gap this game?
You would hope. You would
So
hope.
you don't have
because
to.
I feel like they get into too much of that mentality, like they just run upfield. And that's a bad thing. Like everybody wants to talk about Darnold's sacks, but like, hey, quit, like against Ezekiel Elliott, you're not going to be able to just run straight down the field, because then Ezekiel Elliott, second and a half later, he's going to be 20 yards down the field. So that is the Cowboys' saving grace, and that does give me that I could see a route to victory for the Cowboys in the fact that they are able to control the clock and they are running the ball down their throats. But there's just something that in the back of my head, it's telling me I have Sean McVay's play calling compared to Jason Garrett's, and I'm going to trust Sean McVay 10 times out of 10 over Jason Garrett down the stretch, and I think that the Rams are going to be able to win this game, especially coming in with what we think should be 100% healthy Todd Gurley, as he's taken the last 3 weeks off. So I do have the Rams winning this game.
Do we hear an absolutely insane stat that I'm going to have to... this is from the reference website, so I trust this completely. But do we hear an absolutely ridiculous stat?
Yes.
While Jared Goff has been at quarterback for the Rams, so basically a playoff season, they have never had delay of game.
Oh, wow.
Not once.
Wow.
That's unreal. I'm going to have to look at this more, but no, that's insane.
Well, that's crazy. It's because they get up to the line so fast. Like, they're up to the line 20 seconds on the game clock. That is unbelievable.
It is. That's... Yeah.
Well, we know they're not going to shoot themselves in the foot, that's for sure. So we'll go ahead and talk about the games that were played on Sunday. The Chargers were actually able to redeem their loss to the Ravens from just a few weeks ago. Chargers jumped out to an early lead, able to hold off the Ravens, storming back in the second half. Chargers win 23-17. What did you think about this game?
So, first off, if you're the Ravens, you're not going to bitch Lamar Jackson's situation.
No.
And to even want to do that's insane, because he had a bad half of football. He went at 7-1. You're not going to be here without Lamar Jackson. You're not going to go out and bench one bad half of football whenever you're down by, 9 points? Because no one can score in that game? No, and he got sacked 7 times. And you saw how many times he was running around from that San Diego offensive line? Los Angeles defensive line?
There you
all
go
the
again,
time.
San Diego.
Joe Flacco would have been sacked 12 times in that game.
Oh,
He
yeah.
would have been demolished. Joe Flacco had taken a snap in a month and a half. he would not get done any better. It was asinine for anybody to even say they should put Lamar Jackson in that game. Kudos for Joe Flacco putting on his helmet, being a good guy, saying, "Hey, John, ready to go. Hey, John, I did it once for you." No, Joe, sit the fuck down.
Yes.
You're done. With that being said, Philip Rivers finally wins the game. He always loses. So happy for the guy. Can he do it again? But he's talking that in a second.
Dude, that Phillip Rivers first down scramble and run was the best thing I've ever seen. With the way he polished it off, looking both ways, pointing first down, like that is the Phillip Rivers. That's a confident Phillip Rivers. And whenever you have a confident Phillip Rivers, you're absolutely scary. And you couple that, like you look at Lamar Jackson in the first half. This is basically what I've been saying all season. Whenever we broke the Chargers and the Ravens game down just a few weeks ago, I said on this show, you need to take Derwin James and you need to slide him in at linebacker. You need to bring him into the box, let him spy Lamar Jackson, make sure Lamar Jackson doesn't have running lanes. Derwin James did it plenty of times in college. He can do it in the NFL. Guess who was up in the box almost every single play this week? Derwin James. That was the key to victory. Derwin James did more for this team than anybody else on the field. I know that they had 7 sacks. I know they shut Lamar Jackson down. That was a huge... Putting Derwin James up in the box every single play was the reason why the defense was so successful. He might not have had a world-breaking game with 20 tackles or anything crazy like that, but he kept Lamar Jackson in the pocket, which is where you are the most deadly on defense, making him sit in the pocket. He's kind of a sitting duck whenever he doesn't have that gap that he can shoot and run because Derwin James is sitting there waiting on him. You couple that with Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram getting after him. It was absolutely beautiful play design by the defensive coordinator for the Chargers. So that was your biggest winner of the weekend. The D coordinator for the Chargers did something that nobody else has done, and I think that teams are going to see that, and they're going to use that mold on the Ravens next year, which makes me a little scared for Lamar Jackson, because now that we've seen it once, teams are going to start to do that. But the Chargers almost gave it away.
They did. They wanted to lose that game.
Yes, it was the most Phillip Rivers win ever. Like, your team is winning at halftime, 12-0, and then you let the team storm back and...
Yep, at 20 points at one time.
Yes, 20 points, and then you let them storm back, and they have the ball with a chance to win, and if it's not for a Justin Tucker missed field goal, they're down by 3 with the ball, and the play calling changes completely, because Justin Tucker can nail a 60-yarder at any point. So, very, very lucky that the Chargers were able to escape that, despite how well they played in the first half. So, for the game on Sunday, we have the Chargers at the Patriots. Who do you have winning?
I'm going to go with... See, I want to pick the Patriots, because everything I know about football my entire watching life is the Patriots always win this game. At home, playoffs, Brady Belichick, and into the game the Chargers always lose. It's Phillip Rivers, that's what he does. I'm going to pick the Patriots. Watching the Chargers, I want to play that game to Lamar Jackson yesterday. All I could think about was they're going to go play a 5-4 next week against Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, and they do this they're going to be down by 24 really quickly. Because Patriots defense, it's been but don't break. This is have more break to it. Can the Chargers go in there, score the points, force the ball downfield, and can they get Melvin Gordon going? I think Melvin Gordon and running football will be the biggest key in this game for either team.
See, okay, I'm gonna treat this game just like the Colts versus the Chiefs. Who has the better pass rushers?
The Chargers.
Who has the better secondary?
The Chargers.
Two all-pro guys in the secondary. Doesn't get much better than that. Better offensive line?
The Chargers, probably, yeah.
Probably the Chargers. Better running backs?
Chargers.
Better pass catchers?
Chargers.
And quarterbacks this season, Phillip Rivers has better completion percentage, yards, touchdowns, rating, QBR, and he has 4 fourth-quarter comebacks. Tom Brady, the only thing he has on Phillip Rivers is 1 less interception than Phil.
Okay, well, turnovers matter.
Why should why will the Patriots win this game?
Because the Patriots win. Okay, for the same reason the Chiefs always lose the game they're going to play on Saturday, the Patriots always win this game. even if the odds is totally against them, you're thinking, there's a way to win this game. Like last year against Jacksonville. They're going to be the Jaguars. How are you going to score against them? They just figured it out. And like, it's time to watch. We're not going to see it one more time, I think, on Saturday.
I'll tell you why I think this game will be different than the Jaguars. So the Jaguars in the second half.
The Chargers can score?
The Jaguars in the second half last year ran like 4 different plays. They just stayed to them, and all they did, they got super conservative in the second half. We saw a Chargers team that was up late by a score. It was 3rd and 15. 90% of the teams in the NFL go ahead and hand the ball off to the running back. The Chargers, they threw it because they trust Phillip Rivers, and they think Phillip Rivers can make that play to win the game, put it on ice, and not sit there on their hands and expect the defense to win the game. That's why this team's different, and I think that the Chargers are going to be able to pull this out. I do think we're going to see a big game from Melvin Gordon. I think that Keenan Allen is going to shine this game, and it's going to be one or the other. It's Bill Belichick's not going to let 2 guys beat him. They're going to unload the house on stopping Keenan Allen, but they also have Mike Williams, and then they have 2 deep threats with Tyrell Williams and Travis Benjamin. And then if they're double teaming Keenan Allen, those guys are going to be able to get open. I just think that this Chargers team has too many weapons to let the Patriots beat them whenever the Patriots aren't the same offensive explosion team that we've seen in the past. And I think one of the biggest keys to this game is going to be another performance by Derwin James, who's going to be ball hawking on James White. Because the only way I see the Patriots winning this game is if James White goes out there and has one of those James White playoff performances with 10-plus catches, 100 yards, and a score. And I think Derwin James is going to have his eyes in the backfield shutting him down.
Anthony Lynn, here's what the Patriots are going to do to you on defense. They're going to do that bullseye thing, they just had one guy on Melvin Gordon, and they're just going to trust Stephon Gilmore, who is all pro, to go one-one Keenan out the whole game. That's what they're going to do to you on defense. Like, no one's really saying it. Right now you're in your office going, how are they going to attack us? That's how they're going to do it, because Bill Belichick has always done it.
Yeah.
Stephon Gilmore this season is the Patriots MVP.
Yeah.
No one talks about him.
Absolutely.
No one talks about that, but he's all pro. He shuts down the top guy for the other team every game. And he could do the Keenan Allen, do that bullseye thing to Melvin Gordon. Phillip Rivers has not played well the last 3 games at all. Can you play good in Foxborough in the snow? Snow is predicted for Sunday. Can he do it? I don't think so.
This will be interesting. Dude, imagine Phillip Rivers. Like, we already know how awkward his throwing motion is, but in the cold, in the snow, this is going to get crazy.
How many times?
He's going to look like a world champion shot putter.
How many times do you watch him throw a football and think he's throwing it away, and then just falls in Keenan Allen's hands?
Oh, it's hilarious.
Like a feather.
It's hilarious. It's one of the funnest things to watch in football. And honestly, like, if there's a guy who throws a football like a shot put, it's Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, and no one else does it either. Like, no one else does it.
No.
Because it's terrible. It's probably horrible for you.
No, you do not watch Phillip Rivers game tape to figure out mechanics.
No, definitely not.
I can't wait
do to figure out toughness, how to go your teammates.
Yeah, grit. And I do hope that we get another Phillip Rivers run for first down, because there's no telling what he's going to do in Foxborough.
Do you know Lamar Jackson has more career rushing yards than Phillip Rivers?
Wow.
He has more within like 40 hit today.
Wow. That's unbelievable. So we'll go ahead and talk about the heartbreak. The Eagles beat the Bears 16-15 off of what they are calling the Cody Parkey double doink. Leighton, you called this at halftime. You said, you know what's going to happen. It's going to be a Cody Parkey 45-yard field goal to win the game. You called it. You were 2 yards shy. You were 2 yards shy. What were your thoughts on that game?
So, there's a lot of places to start here, but we'll start Cody Parkey. To say Cody Parkey, the reason he lost the game, is like saying the guy who struck out a bases loaded 9th inning while he lost a baseball game. Cody Parkey was the leading scorer in that game. He had 8 points. The team had 15 points. Period. That hit not even close to being there. The ball was tipped to the line of scrimmage, but it was just kind of barely tipped. Didn't matter a whole lot. No, probably not, but it's still a thing. The reason he lost the game is because the Chicago Bears, like I said all season, all the Jacksonville Jaguars. There came a point in time where the defense won't bail out the offense with a late pick or late stop or pick 6 or whatever, and that didn't happen yesterday. That's why I lost the game. Now, Matt Nagy, Coach of the Year. That was really, really bad.
It was bad.
Tariq Cohen, probably the best person you have on offense, touches the ball 5 total times.
4. One bounced off his hands.
Well, one of the kick return.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So 5 total times he got the ball in his hands. How? He had to miss a meeting or done something to only touch the ball that many times in that game. When all season long, he was your best offensive weapon. Like, what's his name? Doug Peterson during that game thinks, okay, sometimes part-time they got to treat Cohen. Then fourth quarter comes, all right, boys, this game is ours.
Yeah.
Who you got to stop? Allen Robinson? Okay.
Well, Allen Robinson had a phenomenal game.
Great game.
In every single... the opening drive, I was yelling that Allen Robinson has a mismatch on him every single time. You look at him compared to those corners, he's so much bigger, so much stronger, and if you give him the chance, he's gonna go off. And he did. He did have a phenomenal game. Makes me scared for teams next year, though, with the Allen Robinson, Mitch Trubisky hookup. Like, they've looked legitimate over the past few weeks. Mitch Trubisky, I know people are saying that he didn't play a great game. He still threw for 300 yards. Like, he made the plays that he needed to, but it seemed like every single pass call that they had was like a 5-yard hitch route, and it was all underneath. Where we've seen all season that the way to beat the Philadelphia Eagles, you throw the ball over the top, you ask Drew Brees about it, who put up 40 points on him. So it was no question about it. Like, get the ball as far from the line of scrimmage as you possibly can, because that's the strength of the defense. You throw it down the field and you win this game by double digits. I don't understand it. It was exactly what Matt Nagy did last year whenever he was calling plays for the Chiefs in the playoffs against the Tennessee Titans. Like, you can't shrink the playbook just because you have a first I'll call Mitch Trubisky a first-year quarterback, because first year in the system, first year in a playoff game. You can't shrink the playoff just because you're scared. Mitch did everything he needed to do to win this game. And the reason why we're not like the Jaguars is because if you look at this game, we outpassed them, we outran them, and we won the turnover battle 2-0, and we still lose. We got the ball in the red zone 4 times, I believe. We kicked a field goal and scored on 1, and then you get the ball down there, chance to win it. Cody Parkey should have made the field goal. It's a 43-yarder. That should be just another day in the office for an NFL kicker. But you can't put it all on him whenever you have Taquan Mizzell and Benny Cunningham getting the same amount of carries as Tariq Cohen. Like, that makes no sense to me. The offense made no sense. And this is something that I've been high on Matt Nagy doing, like manufacturing ways to get points, and it just wasn't the same feel for this team on offense. There was absolutely no putting the ball downfield, and when they finally did it in the second half, they scored. They scored. Every single time that the Bears looked like they needed a score, they were able to score, except for the Cody Parkey missed field goal, which I feel like had they opened the offensive playbook up earlier, this game would have been a blowout. Yeah,
the weakest point in this game was your secondary. They had, 12 starters this season?
Yeah, it was the most starters at any point. Like, they had 12 different guys suit up and start for them this season.
And they took advantage of it. They just went those screen passes and stuff underneath. I don't know. They work out. Well, another thing, before we move on, experience in the playoffs definitely matters. This game's been there before. They played it up to the moment. The entire Bears team just kind of looked I don't want to say nervous, they just weren't ready for it.
I don't know if it's even the players, man. Matt Nagy did a great job this whole entire season. 16 weeks of perfectly called football games. And this week was just different. This week was different.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, though, it's a good season.
Yeah, but it's a bummer
it sucks.
Like that.
It sucks they lost in that game. How you won yesterday, then lost in LA, you're like, okay.
I've been okay with that.
That's the thing. But you lost the Eagles. Tough game.
Yeah, absolutely terrible. And it scares me. Next season in the playoffs is going to scare me if we do the same exact thing we did this season.
Because this whole season, you've been on cloud 9, 12-4. That's a really good record.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next season, if you're 12-4 again, you're always going to know, okay, what's going to happen,
What's going to happen in the playoffs?
If we don't get a bye, what's going to happen first round?
Are you safe to say, though, that Mitch Trubisky finally turned the page as, like, I thought he looked like a good quarterback. In the second half, I think that there was something that clicked that made him, like, I'm ready to call him a good quarterback.
He showed good signs. I would not be surprised at all if in the draft, 5th round, 6th round, they got a quarterback, though, because Mitch isn't Nagy's guy. He was John Fox's guy. He's had to be when Nagy came in. I would not be shocked at all if they didn't draft a quarterback, and then if Mitch had a bad year this year, because Mitch isn't getting paid yet. When it comes time to pay Mitch, the guys look at it and say, okay, do we want to pay Mitch, or do we have this other guy who we drafted 2 years ago, do we want to use him?
See, I would be very surprised because I think if Matt Nagy was there whenever they were looking for the quarterback, I think this would be the same quarterback. I really do.
They got Mahomes.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I just think that Mitch is really, really good for Matt Nagy's offense, and I think next year he's going to go into it with full trust in Mitch. I think whenever he watches the game film, which I'm sure he's already watched it 4 or 5 times, he's going to be disappointed in himself because he had a quarterback that could make the throws down the field, and I think that there were only like 2 or 3 times that they threw the ball 15-plus yards that it was incomplete, and one of them was a ball that Allen Robinson should have caught on the sidelines, and then there was another one where they came into that weird spot where they called it a catch, and then they said it wasn't a catch, and then it was a fumble, but since there was no clear recovery, so it was very, very bizarre. Should have had only one incomplete ball, and that ball should have been completed as well. Very odd to me. But we have the Eagles on Sunday. Got to move on. Who's going to be the winner, and what are the keys to the game?
Saints will win this game.
Saints are going to blow them out.
I'm not going to say blow them out, because, like I said, most confident pick ahead this weekend with the Bears being the Eagles, and the Eagles win that game. The Eagles found a way to keep the game close, but I don't know. The Saints are going to win this game. It's at home. Drew Brees passes the ball downfield. Best secondary for the Eagles. We do a little game again. Saints win everything. Saints game.
Yeah. Saints 48-7 was the last time that they played each other. Carson Wentz was the quarterback, and Colin Cowherd has told me that Carson Wentz is better than Nick Foles, and Wentz had 33 attempts, 156 yards, 3 interceptions, no touchdowns. So this game should be worse by that theory alone, but I do think that it's going to be an ugly game, and I think that the Saints will rout them. I just think that the Saints are really good, and the Eagles, they got by with a coach that was way too conservative, very similar to how the Seahawks were lost to the Cowboys last week. Little bit of information, though. The Packers actually named their head coach today, Matt LaFleur. He is the guy who is offensive coordinator for the juggernaut offense that was the Tennessee Titans this year. What were your thoughts on that hire?
I'm confused by it.
Yes.
You always heard about how they want to get a guy who's been around the NFL for a long time, a lot of experience, and there's that young guy. So what do? They go get a young guy who Aaron Rodgers is. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't agree with him, he's going to tell him. And who do you think is going to win the battle here with the organization? Aaron Rodgers or his new coach?
I would say Aaron Rodgers is going to win.
Aaron Rodgers win the battle every time. So I don't understand why they hire Matt LaFleur over Josh McDaniels, and this is the only known interview Josh McDaniels had. Matt LaFleur must just have great interviews. He might be the Hugh Jackson of interviews. That's what it is. Matt LaFleur is a Hugh Jackson.
And I don't know why you go out and hire the guy. The game that I want to point at the most is the game where they played the Titans, or whenever the Titans played the Texans. Marcus Mariota threw one incomplete pass. They had, I think it was right around 4 yards a carry. Might have even been 4.5 yards per carry. They scored 17 points.
Yeah.
So the players played exactly how the coach had scripted the game to go, and they scored 17 freaking points. I don't know how you look at that guy and say, he is our head coach. And for the guy who was running Derrick Henry and Deion Lewis at the beginning of the season, whenever obviously, like at the end of the season, it took you 14 weeks to figure out that Derrick Henry was this beast of a man, I do not see how this is going to work. I think that if he comes in and he disagrees with Rodgers on anything, Rodgers is going to eat him alive. I don't understand this hire for the Packers. Hey, but good for them.
The Titans were dedicated having a historic 3-game stretch from going 7-9, 6-10.
Yeah.
Like, they could have won one of those games without that, but 2 of those games they would definitely not have won. Derrick Henry did just become where he could have been entire career.
Yeah, but speaking as a Bears fan, I could not be happier with this hire.
So, tell me that you don't have a lot of faith in Matt LaFleur?
No faith at all, as a matter of fact.
Do you think he's going to be Adam Thielen to Aaron Rodgers, Bill Belichick?
Absolutely not.
Do you give this hire more than 11 games for people calling for his head?
I would say it'll be just like a handful of games.
I'm going 8.
8?
You got any thoughts for us?
Yes, I do.
It was all a dream. I used to read Run Up magazine.
There are 3 guarantees in life: death, taxes, and Cody Parkey nailing the upright. Another week, another Nick Foles win. Eagles fans still calling Carson Wentz the future. Cody Parkey parks his tires on top of the line every time. Phillip Rivers, 12-point game at half, still figures out how to give the other team the ball with under a minute to go. 1-score game. Cody Parkey goes bowling, can only hit the 7 and the 10 pin. Matt LaFleur, named Packers head coach. Thank God. I thought they were going to hire somebody good. Cody Parkey has to go to get new mirrors every single time he pulls in and out of his garage. LSU football, 2018 national champions. If you don't believe me, ask Scotty Frost. Cody Parkey loves poles so much he should go manage a strip joint. Spoiler alert, he'll be looking for a job soon. Imagine an offense that is completely designed to get the ball out of the best player's hand as soon as possible. That would be the Rockets with Austin Rivers and the Seahawks with Russell Wilson. You ever play a game of pickup hoops and get a guy on your team every single time that looks good, puts up every shot, looks really close, they rim out every single time, but you keep getting him on your team because you expect him to start dropping at some point? Well, that guy's Cody Parkey. And there's a new book out this week, and it's titled Using My Thoughts as a Coping Mechanism. And it was written by Bradley Drake Holland. And those have been my thoughts. All right, so we're going to go ahead and switch gears here and talk about the elephant in the room. Clemson absolutely houses Alabama 44-16. Clemson houses Alabama 44-16. I know one of my bold prediction last week, Clemson wins by 2 scores. And I also said Trevor Lawrence would win 3 national titles. And I kind of feel like an idiot right now for doubting him. I mean, I gave him only 2 scores.
Yeah.
He wins by 4.
I mean, you weren't wrong. Won by 2 scores.
Yeah, I should have said at least.
At least 2 scores.
Yeah.
I don't know. See, breaking the game down in his whole, it all started with extra point. He makes that whole new game.
Whole new game.
Yeah.
Dude.
It's so bizarre. It's bizarre to watch.
Clemson won this. Clemson, at the end of the first quarter, was winning 14-13.
Yeah, and Alabama scored what? 3 points second half?
3 points in the whole entire game. They scored 3 points in the second quarter, nothing after that.
It was so bizarre to see it. It couldn't stop him. And the first half came out, you thought it would be just back and forth battle the whole time. They're over in the game at 59. At halftime, you have 31. You're like, shit. You came back in the cut, done, son. But no.
Oh, dude.
60. It was 60.
Yes. They ended up kicking the field goal as soon as the second quarter opened. So really, 15 minutes, we'll go 15 minutes and 5 seconds into the game. You're sitting there with 30 points. It was 30 points had been scored. And you're thinking you're cruising.
18 minutes, yeah. And okay, well, this is better ever. No. 60 points in the game. But that's to get off subject. Looking back at the game, in the first half, I don't even know if Alabama got out-prepared for this game. That never happens. I don't think any team could have beat Clemson tonight. Thinking back to another game kind of similar to this was Super Bowl between the Seahawks and Broncos, where that one game, I don't think any team could beat that Seahawks team. It's just kind of like that. This was Clemson's night. It was all but flawless. Trevor Lawrence had how many incomplete passes? 6, 8?
He was 20 for 32. That's just because he started off so bad. He started
off at 0 for 5.
Yeah. And then after that, he just went on an absolute tear. I mean, he had 347 passing yards and 3 touchdowns on this Alabama defense. And, I thought he's exactly what I thought he was. Like, he is that good. He is that good. But the way that I'm thinking about this game, like, in the first quarter, you knew Alabama was in trouble because, I mean, you had the Tua pick six. Maybe he just shakes that off after that. And then, once you got into the second quarter and you see Nick Saban, who is typically one of the most conservative coaches in college football history, just because he has guys that are better than your guys, and if you just play conservative, you will win. There was like 9 minutes to go in the second quarter, and he was only down by 5, and he was going for it on fourth down on his own 35. Yeah. Like, that is like the most unlike Nick Saban thing ever. They ultimately convert, they drive down the field another probably 10 yards, and then boom, Tua throws an interception. Like, I feel like Nick Saban knew that this Clemson team was better than his own team.
Yeah, and we talked about it last week to go into it. We both said, "Are you for Clemson?" And you were like, "Yeah, I am." Looking at just how they played throughout the season, looking back at Alabama, since like just before that Georgia game where they were playing.
Is this the Citadel?
No, it was not the Citadel. I can't remember who it was.
They were tied with the Citadel at half.
Okay, well, let's just talk down up as a fluke, but that Georgia game, they should have lost that game.
Absolutely.
Like, this game could have easily been Georgia-Clemson tonight.
Yes.
Easy. Because Clemson, I don't think Alabama could beat Clemson ever this season. Because that's how they're going to play, and Trevor Lawrence is going to play like that. I don't think any team could have stopped them.
Honestly, though, I've said it once, and I will ask it again. If freshmen could come out and be draft eligible, would Trevor Lawrence be the first pick in the NFL draft?
Oh yeah, because somebody's going to trade it for him.
Oh yeah,
you don't think the New York Giants would trade whatever it took to get up there?
I'd trade my whole draft class for him.
Like, the New York Giants is sitting there knowing they can have Saquon Barkley, Trevor Lawrence, OBJ, and Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram going forward for the next 5 years, 4 or 5 years.
Unbelievable.
They're doing that.
And you think about it, Clemson, we knew that Dexter Lawrence was out. We knew that some of their best players were out. And what's the most scary part about this Clemson offense is that you're sitting there with Justin Ross and Trevor Lawrence, who ultimately dominated Notre Dame and single-handedly dominated Alabama. Justin Ross, as a freshman, had 148 yards in his first game against Notre Dame, and then he fires back in the national title game against Alabama. 6 catches, 153 yards, and a touchdown. And you could say, well, he had most of it on the one big play, but he was making NFL caliber catches all game. Whenever he was running out of bounds, jumps up, just turns around, one hand snares it out of the air. These guys are good, and they're going to be good for a long time.
Yeah, and they're going to be for a long time. So is Alabama. Everybody's back here next year.
Yes.
They got most of the players back, too, is coming back, and they're going to be just as good as this, if probably better. And we're going to see this for the 5th time next season.
Oh, yeah.
Because thinking about it, Urban Meyer retired. Justin Field from Georgia did transfer over to Ohio State, so that's something cool to look out for, but he's going to coach them.
Yes.
You know that. Georgia, they're going to be a good team again, but they play Alabama. Will the committee do it again? Not let them in? They might. It depends. And then, looking at the landscape for next season, there's no one really up and coming who can go against them. Jim Harbaugh, will he be at Michigan next season? There's no idea. When Jimbo Fisher, Texas A&M's not ready yet. It's just it's Clemson, Alabama.
Yeah, it's Clemson, Alabama
that's
for the foreseeable future, and nobody else is going to change that. And I talked about the connection that they have with Justin Ross and Trevor Lawrence. They have already signed the number 4 and the number 8 wide receivers for this upcoming season.
That's not a bad thing to have.
No,
that's not a bad thing to have at all.
Not. Especially whenever you have we'll go ahead and call him a franchise quarterback because you have him for 2 more seasons. So, this is unbelievably scary. And if you have Clemson on your schedule for the next 2 seasons and Trevor Lawrence is upright, count it as a loss. Count it as a loss.
I mean, Wake Forest, NC State, North Carolina. Do you even want to show up for that game, really?
No.
Georgia Tech? Georgia Tech might beat them in the next 2 years.
No, yeah, Georgia Tech. Okay, yeah. You go down, play Georgia Tech at Georgia Tech or Syracuse in the Carrier Dome. One of those 2 teams might sneak up on him just once out of the next 2 years. But other than that, I think it's going to be smooth sailing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know it's not a good thing, but you want to see the two best teams every single year.
Absolutely.
Like, this is like watching. So, if this is the fourth time, like watching The Godfather for the fourth time, it's still good. Like, if you don't want to see that game again, not that exact game, but that matchup again, then you think the best movie of all time is Sahara. So Matthew McConaughey and Nicole Hudson.
Of course, you had to get Matthew McConaughey snuck back in here. We're not even talking about Texas football. Yeah, Texas won't be back.
Texas could be as good as they could possibly be next season, and they're not going to beat either of those teams.
No, none of these teams are going to compete. I mean, we've seen Alabama just basically roll over everybody. Which the weird thing is, they only outplayed Georgia for 2 quarters combined over the last 2 seasons, and they still are able to beat Georgia.
Yeah.
So I just don't see where we see any parity over the next couple seasons. Like Clemson, first team to ever go 15-0, and if Alabama won the game, Alabama would have been the first team ever to go 15-0. And I feel like we're going to be in the same situation this time next year, saying 14-0 versus 14-0. Clemson, Alabama, Part 5. Who do you have?
Hey, going forward, I'll talk about this here again in a minute. What are you going to do going forward? Because every playoff game was a blowout. You can do one thing: expand the playoff.
Absolutely.
We'll talk about that here soon, but that's one way you can fix it.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. All right, so we'll go ahead and talk about all the other bowls since this bowl season, college football season, is officially over. So we saw a record number of players sit out. There was a ton of uninspired football. We saw Georgia, who was an absolute powerhouse all season. Couple of their best defensive players sit out. We saw Michigan. I think they had 3 of their best players sit out in this game. They got routed as well by a Florida team that we thought was, definitely not as good as what their resume showed throughout the season. With all the players sitting out, do you think that this is going to get worse?
Yes, I do. And because this is actually for all of the world. Everybody in the community and comedy, we will call it, they're just so much more aware of things than they used to be. Like, it's going to take something like an expanded playoff, but expanded playoff would definitely make players play.
Absolutely.
Obviously, because they're going to play for it. But it's going to take, like, some kind of incentive other than you win a bowl game when you're a big shot. Because they're playing D1 football. They're already big shots.
Absolutely.
They're already, getting laid all the time. Everybody in town knows them. Probably getting stuff for free all over the place. That'd be nothing to it at this point. They're looking, okay, I can go make millions of dollars, but we're playing this one meaningless bowl game. And then they gotta weigh it out. Do I want to, let myself down and get hurt, let my family down? Or do I want to tell my teammates, my friends who will understand, hey guys, I got to do this for me.
Yeah.
And so it's going to take some kind of incentive, either money or what, to make that happen.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the only 2 solutions here are an 18 playoff. There's a third, pay the athletes, but that's not going to happen. Or you just recruit kids that do not care about their financial future. Like,
but it's nobody basically anymore.
Yeah, that's nobody anymore. And you look at the list of guys that sat out. I mean, you had Michigan have 3 guys sit out, and at least 3 big name guys who are going to go in the draft. Karan Higdon, Rashawn Gary, Devin Bush. All those guys will be getting drafted. You even had the number 2 tight end. The number 1 or 2 tight end prospect, Noah Fant, he sat out. Greedy Williams, LSU stud cornerback, he sat out. Ed Oliver, Isaiah Thomas, those are 2 guys from Houston that are going to get drafted. Ed Oliver will be a top 5 pick, more than likely. Darrell Henderson, basically the only weapon that Memphis had all season, he sat out of the bowl game. Debo Samuel, wide receiver from South Carolina, he sat out. Justice Hill, Larry Williams, running back and offensive lineman from Oklahoma State, 2 of their better guys, they sat out. You had this leading sack leader, or leading tackle leader for NC State, leading wide receiver, and then you even had Georgia. They had their Jim Thorpe, who is cornerback, the best cornerback or best defensive back in all of college football. He was the award winner for the Jim Thorpe. He sat out, and then they had their leading sack getter set out. So you had all the best players not even playing in bowl week. You had Will Greer not even playing in bowl week. Their best offensive lineman not playing in bowl week. Like, these games are getting to the point where all you're doing is basically playing a spring game for next season. Like, you're seeing the talent that'll be on the field for your team next year, and these games are no longer what you're getting from the prior year. This is basically a measuring stick of how your team will be next year without your new recruits.
Yeah, and I want to hear the show. They say, okay, these are also D1 recruits. They can do the job. No, because if they can do the job, they don't care. Because there's something to having your best player on the field. The kind of quarterback, kind of point guard, whoever it is, you're just like, okay, we have this guy, we can win this game, let's go on his back, he'll take us there. Without that, you're either one playing for yourself and playing selfish, or two, your losses don't really care. And with Michigan and Georgia, I definitely think it was more, let's just end the season, let's just get to next season and try to be Alabama then.
Yeah, and if you want one guy to look at and say, these bowl games do not mean anything to these players, Bryce Love. Bryce Love's a guy who played on one leg last year, who had to go into the tent 4 or 5 times, hop back out there, and go play another game last season, who even sat out of the bowl game this year, who probably shouldn't have even came back for another year at Stanford. Like, the guy wanted another year of college football, but he didn't want to mess with the bowl game. Even he got to the point where he's saying, okay, enough's enough. I'm not going to hobble back out there, because at the end of the day, I still want to have some value whenever I go into the draft. These games are nothing more than what do you have coming in, or what do you have ready on the shelf for next year. It's games a year ahead of time without changeover in coach, or without the new recruits that are coming in. They're pointless. We need to figure out a way to make these games a little more interesting. 8-team playoff is your only conclusion if you're wanting to do so. If not, I'm completely okay with just playing basically meaningless games, and I don't want to see the stats at the end of the season. Oh, and I noticed this year, is that they didn't use those stats as a measuring stick of which conference was the best. You really didn't see that this year. They didn't show which teams, because always, after every bowl game, they say, okay, well, now the ACC is the leader. They're 4-2. And the SEC, they're 3-3. And they usually run down the list. At this point, they know. They're not fooling us. These games are not a measuring stick anymore for the talent that you had on this season slate. It's what will you have for us next year.
Yeah, that being said, though, great win for Texas and Florida, even though it might be not that much deserved.
No, I agree. Interesting one. LSU wins against UCF 40-32. You know, UCF, they had this phenomenal streak, 25 straight wins. Does this diminish the streak at all?
No, because McKenzie Milton didn't play.
Exactly.
Had they had him, they win the game. That being said, they still lost in the playoff because they get 4 points to LSU. Clemson man would have housed them probably.
Oh, yeah.
But regardless, McKenzie Milton, they would have won this game. They would be back-to-back top-level SEC schools back-to-back years. But they didn't get to, and now everybody look at this and say, oh, look at UCF. They didn't mean anything, or not didn't mean anything. They misunderstood them, but they can hang the big dogs. They lost this game. Oh, well, shit. It's worth 32 points to LSU, the backup quarterback.
Yeah. No, did you see the stats that they actually had passing the ball? The backup quarterback, Mac, I'm not taking anything away from him. He was playing against an SEC school in, like, his 4th game career as a starter. So I'm not diminishing his talent level at all. He was 11 for 30, 97 yards passing. With an interception. I think he had 1 touchdown, and they still only lost by 1 touchdown. If you look at that game and you don't think McKenzie Milton makes any bit of a difference, you're crazy. UCF, I've been saying it all season. I said it at the end of last season. This team is legit. This team deserved to be there. They played an LSU team that was all, you know, if they didn't lose that game to Texas A&M, you have a legitimate which they shouldn't have lost that game. There was a lot of bad calls in that game which swung the favor in the way of A&M. But if they don't lose that game, we're looking at an LSU team that had an argument to be in the Final Four playing, but yet you take a team like Notre Dame that just has the bigger name and you put them in. That's absolutely unbelievable. They had 25 straight wins. They had 4 top 25 wins, including a top 7 SEC school. Unbelievable that these people could not figure out that this team was talented, and I think that they proved it with a backup quarterback, only losing to LSU, who absolutely housed Georgia by 1 touchdown.
No damn will have with showing at LSU, probably.
No. So we'll go ahead and we'll move on to darts. Latency, this is a staple of the show. We play it every week. What will our game be today?
Well, as you know, with 2 people, it's hard to do. So we can mix it up. I brought back the game where I have 5 headlines, so I'll figure some are real. No name for it yet, but I like this game, so we brought it back. It allowed me to really get creative out there.
Real or no?
Real or not?
Real or not?
That's what we're going for right now.
That's what we'll call it.
Okay, real or not?
For the time being. So real or not? Latency will read off the headlines, and I will try to guess. Latency, what do you got for us today?
Real or not? We're starting the NFL. So Melvin Gordon took an Uber to the game or whatever, and in the Uber he was listening to the guy talk about a football game. And the guy was just absolutely bashing the Chargers, saying about how he wants the football to get sacked just so he can go through the ground and get sacked down again. He said if Lamar Jackson were a complete quarterback to Philip Rivers,
wow.
Baltimore was going to win.
Bold take. Wait, are you talking about the shittiest take of the week?
This could be that. So all that happens is a story, true or false? Well, real or not?
I'm gonna say real, just because I didn't actually watch the video, but I saw a video that had Melvin Gordon's face. It was like starting off him talking or something.
It was real.
That is hilarious. I mean, whenever you get an Uber, correct me if I'm wrong, but it has like your name of who you're picking up.
It does. It might have Melvin G. I don't know. The story goes on to say he actually says from Texas, and he's talking shit at Chargers, like more solid from the Baltimore Ravens fans he's picking up. So he's trying to get 5-star ratings.
Huh. That's interesting. That's actually really, really fun.
That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, no, I definitely like that.
So Jake is 1 for 1.
I am 1 for 1.
Real or not? Number 2. Not to be outdone by the clearly better fighter, Conor McGregor has stated that he demands to fight Tenshin Taku, that one guy who began kickbox, a kickboxing match before summer is out. And just out of pride, he'll do it for $9 instead of $9 million.
I haven't heard anything about that.
Real or not?
I'm going to say fake.
It is fake. But the scenario is real, but the money is wrong. He wants the $9 million, not $9.
Oh, okay.
So he does want to fight him before summer ends.
Honestly, I almost went real there just so Conor McGregor could prove a point. I mean, he doesn't even have to train for it, especially if it's going to be a setup job like the last one was. But I didn't know anything about this story. So kudos to you.
Speaking of Conor McGregor, with the birth of his second child, beautiful baby by the way, he has announced that he is planning a extraordinary back tattoo that has him standing up in his shorts with tattoos and all, holding both his children in his arms, with his wife kneeling at his feet.
I wouldn't be surprised. I'm gonna say this would be one of the most Conor McGregor things to do. I'm gonna say yes.
That is not.
That is not.
But how awesome would that be?
That would be awesome.
That'd be one of the coolest tattoos ever.
Yeah, we need to get that set up. We need to contact his PR guy.
Go with McGregor and be like, listen, McGregor, got an awesome tattoo idea.
Wearing 2 belts.
Does he have any back tattoos?
Yeah, he has the one just straight down his spine. But that's why I thought that it would be
very easy to cover up. They can cover that up.
I could have saw that one coming.
All right, next one. There's a paper in Los Angeles called the Palm Tree Reader. As you can tell, very big newspaper right there, very luxurious Palm Tree Reader.
That sounds nice.
They had an interview today with Josh Reynolds, the Los Angeles receiver, and he said that they're in trouble because they're going to have to cram Dallas Cowboys tape because all they did the past week was watch tape from their game against the Bears and the Seahawks. Real or not?
Wow. I could not imagine. Sean McVay doesn't seem like he'd let his guard down like that. I'm going to say no. Because he's already broke down the Bears tape once. And the Seahawks twice.
That is fake.
Okay. I put too, you know my love for Sean McVay.
Yeah.
I just put too much stock in that guy, and he's already broke down the film for those 2 teams, so I'm going to say no.
Yep, and there's actually no paper called the Palm Tree Reader. I had to make one up, so no.
No, that sounds legit, though.
I had to make one up to make this sound believable. And our final one. James Harden, highest player in the NBA. 9 straight games of 35 points and 5 more assists. Told reporters after his recent game against the Warriors, or the next day at practice anyway, before games he'd been eating flaming hot Cheetos because he felt like he inherits the fire and he plays like fire.
That has to be real. That is like the most James Harden thing I've heard.
That is fake.
That's fake?
That is fake.
I could see, well, you know how guys are now where they get these like kind of bizarre sponsors?
Yeah.
And like just trying to plug them here and there. Like you watch an MMA fighter and he's like, as soon as the fight's over, and I could see James Harden doing something like that because he's kind of a goofy guy.
Yeah, you can see it for sure, but unfortunately, not true.
I wish that was true.
People should let me like make stuff up way better.
Yeah, I know. You need to just start your own onion page.
Talk about my own onion page.
That'd be interesting.
That'd be brilliant.
So we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about. Oh, actually, what was the recap? How many did I get right?
Drake this week was 2 for 3. He had 4 for 1 last time. For 2 for 3, he's getting a little bit worse. Man, he's getting back making these things up.
Yeah, you did a good job making those up. I will say that. So NCAA basketball talk. So we were real big on Kansas, thought that they had a chance to win it all, but they lost the game that they always seem to lose, 77-60. But it was against Iowa State. If you looked at the spread, you could probably see that Kansas has lost this game many times over because they were 2-point underdogs. But the biggest kicker here, they lost Azubuike for the remainder of the season with a hand injury. Do you think that this affects Kansas's chances to win it all?
Oh, absolutely. Like this is like one of the 3 or 4 players they definitely could not lose. Because talking to Fletcher before season started about Kansas, they fit to win it all because not only did they have depth, they had really good experience with that depth. Azubuike is a guy who's been there, and if you're listening, think about the time you play basketball at a park, at a rec center, or wherever. There's always that one tall guy who you want on your team because he has stopped shit in the lane. Azubuike was that guy. And they're still going to win the Big 12. They're probably still going to get in a tournament. But that Azubuike, it's hard to see them going forward that deep into the tournament.
Yeah, I agree. You know, if there's one team in the NCAA right now that could benefit from being able to trade players, it would be Kansas at this point. They are down to 3 guys that are 6'8" or taller because you had DeSouza. He was lost in the FBI investigations, and now you have Azubuike, who's also out. Those were 2 of the bigs that we thought that this team would be leaning on in this season. Now you're basically down to Dedrick Lawson, and you're going to have to get play out of the freshmen, which we actually saw that guy, David McCormick, last year at the Marshall County Hoop Fest. Yeah, he is a monster. He's very, very good. But if you look at this team, like, you have to have height in order to compete once you get into the tournament. Like, they do have unbelievable depth at guard and with smaller players, which that's why I'm saying that they could definitely use a trade right now, but obviously they can't. So I do think that this is going to affect them because if they do have to play a team that does have the inside presence, they may get lost in the shuffle there. It'll be interesting how Bill Self will kind of play with this.
Yeah, Bill Self is the best coach in college basketball.
Yeah.
Hey, we shouldn't forget that. Like, they're going to be a good team
He'll
still.
figure out how to play small.
Yeah. They're going to be a really good team still. But I can see in the tournament, closer games, more grind out games they want to have playing.
Absolutely. I think that everything will be laborious at this point because I know Azubuike wasn't one of those guys who's going to go out there and run for a full 40 minutes for this team. But, like, you get 20 minutes out of a guy who's 7 foot tall, who is absolutely an unmovable force. That is huge, especially whenever you have Dedrick Lawson playing right beside him as your second big, and he's probably been this team's best player up to this point. So they're going to have to lean on him more. They're going to have to get play out of the freshmen. It's going to be interesting to see how Bill Self handles this. I think this is a team that could play small, and they could kind of try to run teams to death. But in the tournament, we've seen time and time again that you have to be a complete team to be able to pull it off. And unfortunately, without Azubuike, without DeSouza, I don't know if I can call them a complete basketball team at this point. So one of our favorite little big schools is what we called them the last time, Nevada. Suffered a drumming by unranked New Mexico by 27. New Mexico, very serviceable team, though. They played some close games with good teams. We said that Nevada was one of the elite teams in college basketball coming into the season. Does this change your opinion at all?
No, it doesn't. Because Nevada is exactly who I thought they were. They were a team that's going to play really fast, score a lot of points. But they played through the Martin brothers.
Oh, yeah.
This game, they were 4 for 21. And anytime that happens, anytime any level of basketball, your two best players go 4 for 21. You'll lose that game probably handily. I think that's all that happened here. But New Mexico is a really, really bad team. I looked through the schedule today. They lost to North Texas. They lost to other super smart major schools.
I think they actually had, was it them or New Mexico State that had the close game with Kansas earlier in the season?
It was definitely
might have been New Mexico State.
Yeah,
actually.
I don't think New Mexico. New Mexico was not looking good from the schedule at all. But I think they're going to be fine because they're going to keep playing this kind of basketball every night. But I don't think a team like this can go far in a tournament because they're playing on two guys getting hot. That being said, I've watched Connecticut win 2 titles off one guy getting hot. So it is possible, just unlikely.
Yeah, see, well, I think I'm staying on the opposite side of the coin. I think this is just one of those rare nights where, like, you know, these are still college players. Like, your 2 best players just went cold. Like, I know that Jordan Caroline, you could make an argument that he's one of their 3 best players. But at the end of the day, this team runs through the Martin brothers. And whenever they get cold, things aren't going to look up for you, and you are going to lose to bad teams if that scenario happens. But I think I trust this team in the tournament more than maybe any other team outside of Tennessee, just because they've been there before. And you look at it, this is a team that went to the Elite Eight last year. Their top 6 scorers are juniors and seniors, and you had the Martin brothers come back for a reason. I think that this team, despite this ugly loss, which is going to rear its head come seeding time, which they could have this one loss all season, and it's going to haunt them basically until the tournament rolls around and things get fired up there. But I still consider them a basketball elite. Would you consider them an elite team in college basketball still?
I didn't really begin the season, to be honest with you. Just because I know how they play, but they're also one of the better teams in basketball, yes.
Yeah. So actually with the Nevada loss, there are only 2 unbeaten teams in college basketball, Michigan and Virginia. Virginia, they were the first 1 seed ever to lose in the basketball tournament last year.
2 and 16 seed. No 1 seeds have lost before.
Well, yes.
Every year, no 1 seed
Yeah,
lose.
no. That's what I meant. I should have prefaced it by that. The only number 1 seed to lose by a 16 seed. Tony Bennett is actually on pace for his 7th season with over 25 wins and has never made a Final Four and has made it to past the Sweet 16 only 1 time in his career. Can this Virginia team be any different than all of Tony Bennett's teams in the past?
No. I mean, I say that so bluntly because last year it was the same deal. This year, they weren't ranked if we didn't top 25. The talent level dropped off that far from last season. Last year, look at all people going to the tournament. Just on paper, they're the champions. You're the champion last year because if you look at it, they're the best
every good team.
They were the best team. But all me and our aforementioned host used to say was, there's going to come a time in the tournament where teams are going to get hot and they're going to keep up the scoring. Last year, this happened to be in the first round of the tournament. I might be in the first round this year, but I think in a tournament, a team will get hot against them. That being said, though, conference play starts. They play Duke, I think, next week. I mean, North Carolina in 2 weeks. So we're going to start seeing them playing really good teams.
Yeah, I do think that this team is a little different. I do, but it's not that much different. So I'm going to go ahead and read you, basically, I think it's Tony Bennett's 3rd season on from Virginia, where they ranked offensively and defensively in the nation. So in 2012, on offense, this team was this is out of 353, so keep that in mind because this gets pretty laughable. Offense, 284th, defense, 2nd. Offense, 2013, 257th, defense was 5th. 2014, offense, 287th, defense was 1st. 2015, 223rd, defense was 1st. 2016, offense was 232nd, defense was 2nd. 2017, offense was 317th, defense was 1st. 2018, offense was 314th, defense was 1st. And then this season, the offense, 181st, and the defense is 1st. So this team is better offensively.
They are offensively.
This might be the best offensive team that he has had.
I did not
and they are
realize.
181st in the country. So they went from a bottom feeder to a middle tier bottom feeder. So this team is different. And Virginia had their first 100-point game this season under Tony Bennett against a Marshall team that actually upset Wichita State in the tournament last year, held Wichita State to 75. I know 75 is still a lot of points in a basketball game, but I mean, and they do run a D'Antoni system. It's actually D'Antoni's brother, which is oddly enough. That would be the team that Tony Bennett scores his first 100-point game against an opponent, against a D'Antoni. But I do think that this team is different. I don't know if they, last year I was all in on this team. I thought that they were a national champion contender. This year, they are over 100 spots better offensively. And you look at their wins. They've had 3 top 25 wins this season. They scored 65 points in 2 of the 3 games. And whenever Tony Bennett's teams score 65 points, that's the equivalent to like D'Antoni scoring 120 points in a game. So I think that this team offensively is more polished than teams that they've had in the past. And the defense is obviously there. I'm feeling that whenever this comes tournament time, people are going to have them in an early exit, but I think that this team, I don't know if they're a national champion contender because I think that there's probably 5 or 6 teams that I can definitively say are much, much better than them. But if things go right in the seeding, I think this team can be in the Elite 8 and potentially be Tony Bennett's Final Four team just because I think he's found the problems in the past that his offense was this abysmal, but they're still not great, but if you have the best defense and a serviceable offense, things can turn around for you.
So just think about those rankings. How many years was he in the 300s? Consecutively?
He had 2 back-to-back years in the 300s, but he didn't have a team that was better than 233rd over those since like 2012.
Okay, so 2012 like 7 years. So in 2026, they'll be first and the absolute wrecking crew.
Yes, he's on pace.
He's on pace for 2021. Virginia will be the best college basketball team of all time.
I would like to see this team do something in the postseason. Tony Bennett deserves it more than anybody.
He does. He's a great coach. No one talks about him, though, because he just never gets in a tournament. You never see Virginia really on TV, the huge game where it's just them and not 10 other games going on at once.
Yeah, and really, who's the NBA talent? Malcolm Brogdon for 1 season, really?
Yeah, last year they didn't have anybody, really.
Yeah, I mean, they never really had the NBA talent. Yeah, this is a guy who sticks to his guns, and, eventually something has to give. They cannot be in the bottom 100 teams defensively for 15 straight years. Like, something has to give, and this year, so far, it looks like it. Now they're rolling into ACC play. I think in about 3 weeks, we'll know whether or not this team can go past where they've been in the past, or if they're just going to be continually out in the round of 32. I think it'll be that soon.
Yep, we'll be that soon.
Yeah, I think Duke will be a fun game.
That would be fun to watch. I'd be interested to see how Duke young players handle Virginia's slow-ass style basketball. No one plays anymore.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be like the most unathletic basketball team you could imagine playing like one of the better AAU teams, but just one, the one team just happens to have like a defensive wizard coach.
It's the best AAU team, but a 1980s NBA team.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. So I think that'll be a huge measuring stick for this week. So we'll go ahead and we'll transition, Leighton, to the shittiest take of the sports week. Each week we like to talk about, we watch a lot of sports television. We listen to a lot of guys on the radio. And each week I feel like my jaw drops because somebody else says something absolutely insane. Leighton, see, what do you have for us today?
Well, today I have 2 that kind of go together. And it's very kind of contradictory. Doug Gottlieb, my favorite guy to listen to the radio, saying today how you can't blame Lamar Jackson for the Ravens losing that game because you can't put it all on one guy. He then, seconds later, said, it's Cody Parkey's fault they lost. It's his fault. You look at anybody else, but had he made that kick, they'll play this Saturday. And yeah, that's true. But you cannot say that, watching that game, and the immediately before that, that's not Lamar Jackson's fault that the Ravens lost.
Wow. That's pretty.
He said that.
Ballsy. Did anybody call him out on it?
Well, no, he showed by himself. No one to talk to.
Well, that's easy to do, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. He said that. I'm sitting there like, okay, I want to hear everything behind this. Didn't mention the play calling. Didn't mention how defense could stop the Eagles in the fourth down. Nope. Cody Parkey, the leading scorer on the team, missed his third field goal of the game that got partially blocked. His fault, nobody else's.
Well, you take it all out. You say in 5 minutes that you can't put it all on one guy's shoulders, and then the next 5 minutes you say this loss is all on one player. That is absolutely abysmal to me. That's one of my favorite ones you've actually had.
I got another one, actually.
Okay, I'm ready for it. I actually have two as well.
I forgot this one. Clay Travis. So every morning I get the luxury of a solid 15 minutes of Clay Travis every single morning on the way to work. This morning he said, once again, back to back, if you want to blame Cody Parkey for they losing this game, you have to blame Justin Tucker for they losing their game.
How?
I don't know.
One game was 1 point, the other was 6.
It was 6, exactly. He was just like, Tucker missed that kick. Hey, maybe that kick was done by 3 and not 6. Maybe the game plan would have changed. That minutes to go in the game. What are we going to do? Hand the ball off to fucking Gus Edwards?
Yeah, I know.
No.
They'll still try to put the ball on the field.
It would have been the same thing, hey, that kick or not. It would have been on the scoreboard.
That's unbelievable. I absolutely love those guys. So my first one is actually, I'm going to go right after Colin Cowherd because he's a jewel. So yesterday after the Bears game, he said, "Never doubt the Philadelphia Eagles. Been saying that for years. Hashtag here we go." This was January 6th, 2019. On November 18th of 2018, Colin Cowherd tweeted, "Let's be honest. Philly is going back to its rightful place in the NFC East." Thoughts?
I saw that yesterday. And Cowherd, he's so full of shit, it's almost sad.
No, it's sad. It is sad.
Dude, I understand you live in California now, and you think you're the best thing ever to live in California, but just get over yourself for a second and think back to when you said they sucked 8 months ago, and don't try to turn your words around to where you say...
This is Baker Mayfield 101.
Yes, I said that, but I said this actually. No, you meant that, and you meant it.
Yeah, stand on your take. We've been... you almost were right with the Texans. Hey, you lay on your take until you're in the grave. I mean, you don't come off of it. If you think they're bad, not much changes in a month and a half other than the quarterback. Backup quarterback rolls in automatically. Never doubt the Eagles. Colin Cowherd, you're something else. And then I was actually listening to another talk show. Ryan Clark. He's still unsure if Luck can put the ball down the field.
I actually heard that. Yeah, I heard something about that today. I didn't know Ryan Clark said. I heard somebody saying that.
I'm like 99% sure it was Ryan Clark.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like since week 2% after the pass.
Yeah, it was week 2 or 3.
Week 2, and then since week 5, best team in football, Andrew Luck been destroying the world.
How many deep balls have you seen T.Y. Hilton catch over the past 4 weeks?
A lot.
I know.
Everybody catches.
And guess who's throwing?
Dontrell Inman.
Yeah.
Dontrell Inman out there. No. Yeah. Andrew Luck could be okay. I think his soul is fine.
Yeah. I think that at this point you can finally say that he's healthy, and you can finally say that he can put the ball down the field. All right, so we'll go ahead and switch gears here and talk a little bit about the NBA. One of the main headlines has been James Harden. Been on a completely different planet over the last few weeks, including the Thursday night game where he made not only the game-tying 3 at the end of regulation, but he also made a game-winning 3 with basically the whole entire state of California surrounding him. In overtime to knock off the Warriors, Harden's stat line was 44, 15, and 10. He put together 5 straight games of 40-plus points and has not scored below 35 since December 15th. Leighton, is James Harden on his way to be back-to-back MVPs?
If he keeps up this pace, it's going to be almost unanimous, I feel, because he'd have to be. He has 9 straight games of 35 or more points and 5 or more assists, which is an NBA record. Right now, in my opinion, the MVP is still Giannis Antetokounmpo. Bucks, they were in first place the other day, might not be now, but he has the Bucks, in first place. The Rockets, they're playing a different home James Harden. I want to see what happens though when Chris Paul comes back and it's not just James Harden's show, or Chris Paul will get up and let it be James Harden's show.
Yeah, that'll be really interesting dynamic to watch, like when he does come back. I think the only thing that's really working against him that he had last year, because if you look at the stats, I mean, they're pretty similar from last year when he did win his MVP to this year. But last year, what was really playing in their court was that they were able to get the number one seed in the NBA playoffs, and this year it doesn't look like they're going to get there. Like maybe there is a route for them to get there if James Harden keeps on this just ridiculous tear. But last year it was basically they just gave it to the best player on the best team. I mean, James Harden was on a different planet, but we saw basically Russell Westbrook do the same thing he did the prior season to win an MVP. But the nod for Harden was, hey, you have the best record in the NBA. So if he is able to keep up this pace, and they keep winning games like they are, and they fight back to that one seed, I think he is a lock if they are able to get the one seed. But if not, I think there's going to be some questions there at the end of the day. Because like we've talked before with Fletch, he talks about, they have the shiny new toy effect in the NBA, and ultimately, even if he has the best season, I could see them giving it to somebody else based off the shiny new toy effect.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think like the last season, Russell Westbrook, I think, was third in the voting, and he had a triple-double again.
Yeah.
He went 2 years ago, he did the same thing, but it wasn't as new, which makes no sense at all. But right now it's Giannis. This could change if this keeps up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would agree with you, though. I think it is Giannis, but I think obviously there's still a ton of basketball to be played, so things will get interesting, especially when Chris Paul comes back. Tom Thibodeau has been fired by the Minnesota Timberwolves after a 9-21 start. Was this was this a fair move? I
don't know if it's fair for which he's going right now, but it's definitely the right move to make. I mean, Anthony Town, Andrew Wiggins, earlier this year, Jimmy Butler, that team should have been, definitely top 8 seed, and they're, 15th, 14th right now? It's been terrible. The one good thing he has done, though, he has revived Derrick Rose's career.
Absolutely.
Somehow, or Derrick Rose done himself. But do you see what Derrick Rose said today to all the people on Twitter who said that he can't keep it up without Tibbs?
What's that?
Go die.
Nah.
Derrick Rose told everybody, go die.
Oh, was it go kill yourself?
Go kill yourself. Yeah, that's what it was.
That's
what it was. That's fucking... He should not have said that. That's
no,
bad.
You cannot say that.
That was bad.
No, it is 2019 Derrick Rose. You cannot say that.
Yeah, nope, they should not say that. I don't know if it's taken down or what.
I wonder if there's going to be any fire back from the league for that.
Probably not a fine, but they're definitely going to be... behind closed doors, hearing it talked to, for sure.
Yeah, did you see who the next man up may be?
Not sure who it is.
Fred Hoiberg.
He did, and he followed up Tibbs in Chicago, right?
Yes.
So he's just like in Tibbs' top 8 seconds.
Yes, they're the Minnesota Timberwolves. Like, they really are. Like, you look at everybody they've got. They got Jimmy Butler, they got Derrick Rose, they got Tom Thibodeau. I believe they had Taj Gibson also.
They did. I don't know if they still do. They did at least.
Yeah,
for sure.
They at least did. I was just waiting for Joakim Noah to make his return.
Yeah.
Like, if he could have come and played for them, they would have been set.
But do you I want to see get the job?
Who's that?
I really want to see Tyronn Lue get this job.
Ooh, that would be...
I want to see him come in there with really no expectations at all, not coaching LeBron James, not having to coach a team without LeBron James that's really young and is not very good. Get him in there, Anthony Towns, who's a superstar, Andrew Wiggins, who should be better than he is, and he's the opposite of Tibbs in every way. Tibbs, think about him, he's old, he's white, probably can't relate to his players very well, old-style basketball. Tyronn Lue, young, black, he was the favorite coach of that team, and Dave Blatt was there.
They all loved him.
And he was playing a new style of basketball. So that's just a complete culture change. And I feel like for a franchise that should be better than it is exactly what they need.
Yeah, and he got the LeBron James stamp of approval, basically. Like, when they got rid of Blatt, basically was to just elevate Tyronn Lue to being the head coach. And if you look at a guy who's like, at least has championship experience, there's not too many of those guys running around out there. Mm-hmm. And Tyronn Lue's the next guy that you could see stepping into that position. I think he should be the favorite for that organization. But for an organization who hasn't made that good of moves over the past couple of years, despite all the talent they have on the roster, I highly doubt that they go after Tyronn Lue. Like, And you look at Tyronn Lue, I don't think he got a fair shake in Cleveland. Like,
he's not been fired this year after what he had to deal with.
No, absolutely not.
Only one other time in basketball history has a top 5 player. The one time a top 5 player changed team in the top 5, and that's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar back in the 60s.
That's unbelievable.
Like when Michael Jordan left, he was not a top 5 player anymore. He was, went to Wizards and couldn't play.
Right. I don't understand it. What their head would be thinking that Fred Hoiberg's the man for the job. Like, if you look at what he did with less talent with the Bulls, like, how in the world do you think that he's just going to come in with good talent and make that work, especially in a locker room that we've seen in the past have a little bit of problems? Maybe the problem is going with Jimmy Butler. Now Jimmy Butler's creating more problems with the 76ers. But I do agree with you. I think Tyronn Lue is really the only coach out there that does have that pedigree and will be well respected by his players. Because if anything else, it just has to be a locker room a coach problem, because they have too much talent to not make that ship sail. Like, at the end of the day, you might just need to get a player's kind of coach in there. That way he can relate to the players, talk to them, and just help them through the mental blocks that this team has. Because, honestly, if you look at the roster, they should be playing better than what they are. And I think that he could basically squeeze the orange for all the juice that's there with the Timberwolves.
Yeah, and looking at Timberwolves right now, next year, the first of Karl-Anthony Towns, a 5-year, $109 million contract. They want him. They gotta make him happy to stay there. Because 5 years, $190 for Karl-Anthony Towns, a team will trade for that. And if he demands a trade, they'll be able to do it.
Yeah,
so you want to keep Karl-Anthony Towns happy.
Yeah, you need to keep that guy happy, because that's really the only building block you have. Because, quite frankly, I just don't know if Andrew Wiggins is ever going to be the guy we thought he would.
No, he's not. But regardless, he's making $30 million every year starting next season.
But that's unbelievable to me. Back to what I said. They just haven't made the right decisions lately, even though they have talent on the roster.
They're not.
So wait and see. It is our time to put you in the spotlight. Each week we have you break down a movie for you. You watch 1, not 2, not 3 movies. Sometimes you watch 4 movies in a week, and you come in and you tell us about a movie that you'd seen this week. What's on the slate for you today?
1 2 1 2 Pip's Entertainment Review. Sit on down for a movie to view.
This week it's a movie that everybody can see with only 10 episodes on Netflix, and that's Bird Box. You've probably seen a lot of memes with Sandra Bullock with a blindfold on. You hadn't known that's movie Bird Box.
I've seen one with her on Cody Parkey's body, so
it's fitting right now.
Very fitting.
Poor Cody. But this is a movie that Jake has also seen.
This is a rarity.
So this is more fun because that's just me analyzing the movie. It's more kind of a discussion. Might get into some spoilers, but we try not to.
I'm bad at spoilers.
So
I'll sit here and complain about the whole entire movie.
I know what's going to happen. But so, Bird Box, you don't know.
By the way, Dippers, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, if you haven't seen Bird Box yet and you hate spoilers, as soon as Leighton's done talking, you go ahead and shut us off.
Yeah. So Bird Box, if you haven't seen a trailer or whatever, I'm kind of blown if you haven't. But it's basically a wind or something comes through basically the world and it makes you see something that drives you to, in terms, kill yourself.
Yes.
And
well, maybe it was Derrick Rose. Maybe you see tweets hating on Derrick Rose.
And then you go, ooh, okay. Plot twist. A little bit of what's it called? When you see it in the future. Foreshadowing. For the next day. But no. Anyway, so it's going to happen. And then Sandra Bullock, who put in the time, she gets into a house where it's safe. And it can't come inside, apparently. The air inside is fine. The air outside is bad.
I don't get that.
I don't know what to get either. But the first 2 minutes of the movie, it's just straight chaos and shit's going absolutely nuts.
I love that part.
And then to get into the house, and another pregnant lady shows up, and then they start getting into the future stuff where they got to make it to safety, which all the trailers show. And to me, that's where it starts going downhill.
Yes.
Sandra Bullock, I understand she's really popular, she's really good looking. I don't like her. She's annoying in movies. With McConaughey, I acknowledge that he's a good actor. I don't like his style of acting at all. Sandra Bullock, I don't think she's that good of an actress. She just screams a lot and annoys me, and she's sappy. I know they bought into her. Bird Box, at the beginning, the chaos, yeah, give me 2 hours of that.
Yes.
once that went away and became more of a confined story to just follow around Sandra Bullock and the people around her, I didn't like it as much. It just couldn't hold up. And then ultimately, I wasn't happy with the way anything turned out to be in the end. So Drake, how do you feel about Bird Box?
Okay, just so we're clear here. Spoiler alert: if you don't like them, turn it off.
Yep.
I absolutely did. It was a long movie. It was 2 hours and 4 minutes.
Yep.
And in 2 hours and 4 minutes, like, you give me a ton of action and you give me a ton of excitement and you keep me on my edge of the seat for the first hour, which is bizarre because I watched the first hour and then I got interrupted and I didn't get to watch it for another 2 days. I was drooling to find out how this movie ended. I mean, Leighton can attest for it. I was basically, that's all I talked about. Like, man, like, what happens? Tell me something. He wouldn't. I wouldn't look it up. I wanted to know what happened. Well, I watched the second half, and I was highly, highly, highly disappointed. There's way too many holes in this thing. For one, how in the world can this thing not come inside? I don't understand that. Like, if it's that potent of an object, and it is that potent of a virus or disease or whatever they refer to it as, how in the hell can it not get inside? It traveled all the way across an ocean in about 5 minutes. Because they were talking about it at the beginning of the show, saying how it was only in Russia or something like that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, bam, it's in the United States, but guess where it can't go? Your home. No. Don't give me that.
It finds you in seconds, too. If you go outside and you haven't seen it yet, it finds you in no time.
In no time. I mean, this thing is powerful. Not powerful to walk into your house, though. Also, there's a scene where a guy is trapped out in a garage. There's a glass door between him and the inside, and he knows he's seconds away from dying, but he doesn't punch the glass door in. This guy is crazy. He was running around with a shotgun in everybody's face, but yet, when times get tough, this guy is not crazy enough to punch out your window. I don't believe that for a second. Also, I've watched enough fights to know that if a man gets knocked out, he's going to be back he's going to be awake probably in the next few minutes, if not seconds. I mean, Amanda Nunes hits harder than just about anybody in the world. Hits Cyborg hard enough to knock her out. Guess who's walking around in about 30 seconds? Cyborg. Guess who's not walking around in 30 seconds? A humongous man of a human being gets hit in the head with a little, like, ornament that you put on your table, and he's out for 5 minutes by some guy who's an artist. I don't believe that. He was out for at least 5 minutes, and it seemed like longer. I don't know if I was just so wrapped up into the plot. And then whenever he comes to, immaculately, he's just automatically strong again. If the guy was knocked out for 5 minutes, he's probably dead. I mean, I'm just going to come out and just be honest with you. He's probably dead, and he's not going to be strong enough to rip a gun out of another man's hands. Also, the fact that crazy people do not die from this thing was just so weird to me. Everybody's crazy. Everybody in the world's crazy. And you'd think it'd just make everybody crazy instead of just putting them to the brink of death and just having them walk out in front of a freaking trash truck. I don't understand it. At the end, it got real too hairy for me. People were walking around like swimming through these humongous rapids and stuff with blindfolds on. Like, Daredevil I can buy into. I cannot buy into that. I just don't understand.
They're dead. Like, they're all 2 5-year-old kids in raging rapids blindfolded.
Yes.
And somehow Sandra Bullock finds them both, no problem. Yeah. Seconds go by. Yes. No, they are dead.
And you know, the people that would leave, like, it left you to wonder. Like, I would have liked to have at least seen, like, the exit of the people that left in the car. Like, show me what happened give me a 2-minute clip of what happened as soon as they left, you know? Did they get somewhere else safe? Mm-hmm. Did they just die as soon as they went outside? I have no idea, because guess what? You didn't show it. I don't understand it. This movie, in my opinion, the first hour, I'd give it a full 3 dips. I mean, it was awesome. I was at the end of my seat. I don't really get that too wrapped up into movies like that. And then at the very end, it just gets all crazy. And it kind of got boring and just, as unrealistic as the movie was, the ending was way more unrealistic than anything else. And the whole Bird Box thing, which they tried to make it like a huge point of the movie, it's the title. And did the birds really do anything?
No,
I mean, no.
And how in the world were those birds in that box alive after the rapids?
Yes, I don't understand that. You don't think that if the box is waterproof, there's a great chance it's airproof.
Yep.
So those birds would be dead.
I've never been in raging rapid water before in my life, but I have been caught in undertow in the ocean. I feel like it's very similar, and undertows are hard to get out of. Like,
Yeah.
and I was like, I don't know, 16, 18, how old I was.
Imagine if there were rocks there for you to hit.
The rocks, and you were 5 years old.
Yes.
That's what they got out, no problem.
I don't understand it. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, I don't get it. It was such a bizarre movie. What was your final take on it? How many dips?
So right after I watched it, I get 1.9 dips, which is basically 2 dips. I will watch it again. I will at some point in time. 1.9 dips is if someone wants to watch it, I'll say, okay, let's check this thing out. In hindsight, now I'm thinking back on it, and like Jake said, the first hour is really, really good. Like when that chaos was happening, I loved it. As you see, like what's gonna happen next, you're grabbing whatever you can get next to.
Another spoiler alert: whenever you get to the birthing scene, immediately following that, it goes straight downhill.
I agree. Actually, in my opinion, when they get back from the grocery store, it starts going downhill.
I thought that I thought that all the stuff that happened after, like during the birthing scene, like that was enough to keep me going. Like I was like, you know, you have your certain characters that you're rooting for. One of my favorites was John Malkovich, and it doesn't even show how he dies. Like the guy, all he had to do is just keep his eyes closed and open up the door. It doesn't show him dying. It doesn't actually show him dying. Does he turn around and just look at it, or does he kick the door in and go inside?
I feel like knowing his character, I don't know. At some point in time, he might have said "fuck it" and open his eyes,
or just kick the door in.
Okay,
because actually, if you look at the way that the door opens, the door does open inside. So there's a possibility that he could kick that door in. I checked it out.
This is very conspiracy theory now. John Malkovich might be alive in Bird Box. We don't know, but
Bird Box 2, the story of John Malkovich.
the part that annoyed me.
Oh, Bird Box 2, being John Malkovich.
That's what we need.
That's what we need.
That's perfect. The part that I probably liked the most was the scene after they got out of the rapids, and then the when things started to talk.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, what is this power? Like, and it didn't make any sense to me. It didn't make sense about that, but another hole. Everybody sees a different thing, but sometimes when it starts talking, they all hear the same thing.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's another.
like the wind was really telling them to take off the blindfolds, so I was saying a bullet could hear it. It's like, no, that would not work out. And then I understand I understand the whole scene of the movie was because she didn't really think the kids were her. She didn't name them, and then she finally yelled, "Stop it! Don't take away my children!" The first time all movies she referred to them as her own children. So that's why it was there, so that the development of love she had for them. But Midge Hull didn't like it. Stupid. So hindsight, 1.6 dips.
Yeah, I was not a big fan. I mean, it's one of those movies that you have to watch because the first half is so entertaining, and then like you know, you at least get into it enough to last through the end. Plus, it's on Netflix. Like it's a hot commodity. You got to know what the memes are about. So I think you have to watch it. But I think you're going to be just like Leighton and I. And this is a rarity where we both agree on a movie like this. I think you have to watch it though.
Yeah. Speaking of memes on Netflix, have you seen like the meme where it compares like 3 movies? It was like can't hear, can't talk, and then can't see. Like those memes. So the can't see was for Bird Box, can't talk was for The Quiet Place. That we talked about a few months ago. Can't make noise. The can't hear is a movie called Hush. It's on Netflix. It's about a woman who lives by herself in like the cat in the woods, and she's deaf. Super rich though. Like, she's really successful at doing something, and she's deaf. And that movie will scare you. Like that movie you should watch.
Huh.
Check
that out.
Because like the whole time they do a really good job of playing. Or like you can hear some things, but you can't hear others, and you know sometimes you can't hear anything. And that movie gets 2.5 dips. It's on Netflix. It's called Hush. After Bird Box, check out Hush. Only an hour and a half long.
All right, latency. So I actually think I do want to watch Hush now. If it's 2.5, I'll have to check that out.
It's good.
So let's go ahead. Any bold predictions for this sports week?
Right now, it's time the Alabama comes back, wins this game. It's halftime right now, because people don't know, it's 31-16.
My bold prediction, and I hope it comes true. It's going to be, I have to say it now because I don't know if I'm going to get it. Okay, actually I have to say it now. My bold prediction is that the Colts and the Chargers both win, and then the AFC title game is played in front of 20,000 screaming fans in a soccer stadium. I love the NFL.
That would happen too. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were 12-4.
We need the Colts. We need the Chargers. And on that note, for Drake, for Leighton C, as always, Dippers, stay saucy.